Because I thought it was pretty. That's why. My wife and I were recently visiting a close friend of her family's, and while we were there, he mentioned that he had an old sewing machine that he didn't want or need, and he knew of my interest in sewing machines, and basically he was going to throw it away or take it to a thrift store and get rid of it, and asked if I might want it. And so yeah, of course, yes, I wanted it. I mean, without even seeing it, I probably would have wanted it. This is the machine. I just want to point out, if you're not familiar with my channel, the primary focus of this channel is to promote sewing as a hobby for guys, and let guys know that if they want to enjoy this hobby, they don't have to turn in their man card to do it. That said, isn't this thing pretty? Like, my gosh, as soon as I saw it, the color, I gotta have it. Even if I just stick it on a shelf, it's just beautiful. So it's like one of these cool, like, late 60s, early 70s machines when, up until the 1950s maybe, sewing machines were all black. It was just virtually all of them were black. And then in the, 80s and later, they all became plastic, but there's some pretty cool colors of machines in the 60s and 70s, so I thought this was a great example of that. So I don't know a lot about this machine other than what I found out from Googling it after I got it, but I'll tell you what I know. If you happen to find a machine like this, hopefully this will give you some information about whether or not you might want to buy it, or otherwise obtain it if somebody's. And by the way, let everybody if you're interested in sewing, let everybody know about it, because these things and similar vintage sewing machines are in attics and basements and spare rooms everywhere, and they're not worth anything, so most people aren't going to bother trying to sell them. If I found this at a thrift store, I'd expect to pay $20, $25, maybe $30 for it. Maybe through a private seller in really good condition, $50 maybe. And I mean, this machine came with the table and a stool that is also a container that has every accessory you could imagine. It came with the manual. It came with all the discs for embroidery. I'll show you those in a bit. They're basically worthless. So if you know someone who has something like that and they want to get rid of it, make sure that they know that you're the person to call, because you might be able to get something for free or case of beer or whatever you and your friends work out. So anyway, enough about that. Let's look at this machine. So I think a good place to start talking about this machine, which I probably should have said before, is a Singer 348, is to start by comparing it to its cousin over here, the Singer 237. The 237, to my understanding, is the last all-metal sewing machine that Singer made. And by all-metal, I don't just mean the case that makes up the body of the machine, but all the gearing inside. This machine has one nylon gear in it. The problem with nylon gears is as they age, they become brittle and eventually under stress can break. And to my knowledge, I don't think anybody makes replacement gears for machines of this era. If you know that someone does, please post it in the comments section below. I'd love to know. So if the gear fails and if you can't find a replacement, the machine's a decoration at that point. So I tend to stay away from machines with nylon gears. But I mean, I have had at least one, maybe a couple of them, and they worked just fine. I haven't even turned this machine on yet, but when I rotate the hand wheel, it rotates fine. And I've visually inspected the gear, and it seems to be okay. So it'll probably be fine for years. The 237 was built between 1968 and 1972, and the 348 is around the same era. I think this machine's around 1968, late 60s anyway. Built in Great Britain, I believe Scotland, but somewhere in Great Britain. And, you can see visually they're fairly similar machines, both zigzag capable. Probably the main functional difference between these two machines is the 348 has the ability to use cams for different embroidery stitches. I'll show you a little bit more about that. As with many machines from this era, this machine can use these plastic cams that can be changed out, and in conjunction with different settings of the zigzag stitch width and needle position can create different decorative stitches. I don't really do that kind of stuff, or at least I never have, and at the moment I don't know that I ever will, but maybe I will. So this is sort of an unimportant feature for me, but it might be useful to you if you're watching this video. But these cams just can be removed and replaced with different cams. The one that is in the machine right now is the standard zigzag cam. This machine, it seems like other machines that I've seen that have this feature have zigzag independent of whether or not there's a cam in the machine. But for this one, I guess you have to have this particular cam in order to have the zigzag functionality of the machine. That's what I understood from the manual anyway. So. This machine came with a nice box of accessories, this very classy and stylish seam ripper, a bunch of the cams, some replacement needle plates, and this is a cover plate to cover the feed dogs so you can do free motion stitching. Most machines, if they have the capability, they'll have the ability to drop the feed dogs for that. And this, instead of doing that, you just put this plate over it. But I haven't tried it, but whatever works, right? And it came with a couple of typical accessory feet. Nothing super exciting. The manual for this machine was kind of interesting reading, and I would urge you, if you're watching this because you just stumbled upon it because you have an interest in sewing but you don't really know much about it, if you can get your hands on an old machine and its manual, read the manual. There's like a lot of good instruction in here that would really help someone who's trying to get started in sewing figure out what's going on. I thought it was pretty cool. And I think a lot of Singer manuals are available either from their website for free or other people reproduce them or something. But so look online, there's plenty of resources. So I'm going to plug this machine in and see if it works. This is probably a good time to caution you. If you find a vintage machine like this, particularly if you just find it in a dumpster, which several viewers have commented that they found machines that way, or if you buy it from a private party or something, this wiring is 50 years old now, and this is a metal machine, so there is a danger that if there was something wrong electrically, that you could be shocked or even possibly killed. So I would recommend that you either inspect it very carefully, or if you're not absolutely confident that you're safe, get it professionally inspected. Okay, well, nothing has fried yet. I'm going to turn the machine on, and I've got light, so getting power to the machine, and it hasn't shocked me. That's good. You don't want to run a sewing machine that is threaded without having fabric in the machine, because that can cause the thread to become entangled and maybe do some damage. But I don't have any thread in the machine now, so it's okay to run it. So let's see if it works. Okay, well, the motor goes. Alright, so the motor is turning the mechanism, the motor's turning, but it's not engaging the mechanism. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on. There's a belt, pretty typical belt that you would see on machines of this type running to the motor, but the motor and the belt are concealed behind this panel. So I'm going to take that off and see if that yields any information. I'm hoping that it's something like the belt is broken or something. As I know I can get a belt for this. Oh, well, belt is just super loose. So if I can figure out how to adjust the belt, might be in business. I sprayed some PB Blaster on here and have been wiggling this for the last couple of minutes. And ta-da! No affiliation, but this stuff works great. This piece is the clutch that you can disengage, so when you're winding a bobbin, the sewing mechanism doesn't go up and down. I wouldn't say this belt is in fantastic shape, but I think it'll still work. This eccentric is retained by this screw, so I can loosen this screw and turn this until the motor is moved into a position where the belt is tight, and then tighten that screw again, and that should give me the proper belt tension. A little bit of footage got lost, but the upshot of it is you can get a screwdriver through this hole to access the screw to tighten the belt. So that turned out to be a long story, but there's the Singer 348. It's okay. It's a good machine. I made this pillow as a gift for my wife's godfather, who gave me the machine. And this fabric is a pretty thick upholstery fabric, kind of suede-like fabric. And it struggled a little bit with it. It didn't have the greatest time sewing. It would not be the machine I would turn to for sewing this material. But I wanted to make something with the machine, just to properly thank him for giving it to me by making something with it. And it did fine. If you see 348 at a thrift store, it might be worth a look, and if it's at the right price, maybe snap it up. I'm going to keep this one around and probably use it from time to time, but it's just one of many. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, I'd love to have you join me as a subscriber. If you are a subscriber, thank you. If you like this video, give me a like, and thanks for watching. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the pillow I made. I cut out these pieces from another piece of material of phonographs because my wife's godfather collects and restores old, 1800s phonographs. So there you go.